I also think they already got their quarterback that they're trying to draft, and Trey Lance right now.
Right.
The man will be 24 years old next month. Let's not forget, y'all, he was the 3rd overall pick in a draft.
Yes.
The 3rd overall pick.
That the San Francisco 49ers gave up on.
The draft position doesn't. I don't think the draft position really matters because we've seen other guys get drafted high and not pan out. I do think, though, that to your point, Harry, Trey Lance's story, forget it's not finished. It hasn't even begun to be. It hasn't even begun. Nobody's written it yet. So you do have potential there. But if you're the Cowboys, the all-in Cowboys, are you prepared to say, you know what, we're going to hand this over to Trey Lance, sight unseen, essentially? I mean, you watch him in practice, but he hasn't been. Hopefully,
Well, you were based.
It's comical how little she knows, and all these guys up here really at this point. I mean, it's just, oh my God. First off, his story hasn't been written. Yes, it has. He went out there. He was not good enough. Yes, I understand that Trey Lance got injured, and I'm sympathetic to that. But Shanahan has proven consistently with multiple quarterbacks and multiple franchises to be an elite offensive-minded coach, whether an OC or head coach. And he said, I'll give Trey Lance away for peanuts. Let's just get him out of the building. I don't want him there. I trust Shanahan over anyone else in that regard, okay? Sean McVay didn't want him. Andy Reid didn't want him as a backup. Like, no one else wanted him except for the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, that should be telling enough, quite honestly. So, if you're a Dallas Cowboys fan, do not hold out hope that Trey Lance is just going to magically be a good quarterback. I just don't know where anyone could really reach that conclusion. To say that they already have their quarterback to replace Dak, which is what, Harry Douglas is essentially saying, is absurd. And the one woman, I really have no idea what her name is. I've seen her in a handful of clips now these days. How she's just like, his story hasn't been written yet. Yes, it has. The team that drafted him did not want him. Did not want to hold on to him. That's damning. They said, hey, you know what? Brock Purdy, the last pick in the draft, Mr. Irrelevant, is better. And he led us to 2 NFC championship games and a Super Bowl. Went into overtime against the Kansas City Chiefs. Not to mention, Brock Purdy got injured on his throwing arm. If Trey Lance was worth anything, they would say, let's hold on to Trey. We just don't know what's going to happen with Purdy. He might have some pain going down, by week 3, 4, 5. He could get injured at any moment. No, they said, you know what? Let's have Sam Darnold. I mean, I just don't know what you're expecting. Trey Lance, unfortunately, is a bust. I feel bad for him, but hey, he still got paid. He was, the 3rd overall pick? Still made millions of dollars from that, so dude still got paid. If he was smart with his money, he'll never have to work a real job ever again. He'll be able to pull in, hundreds of thousands of dollars just off of interest alone, so I don't feel too bad for him. Plus, he could still be, a second-string quarterback in the NFL for years to come. And listen, maybe he could be a starting quarterback, right? Maybe he's better than a Gardner Minshew who got to be a starter for a little bit. Maybe he's better than, I couldn't even name other quarterbacks. The quarterbacks who were for the Raiders or the Commanders or, whoever, right? Maybe. So maybe he's like bottom 10 quarterback, which is fine, right? That someone has to be for those teams. He can't be the Dallas Cowboys quarterback. Dallas has real expectations to win, to be an elite organization. Okay? Not just kind of okay. They don't have the same expectations as the Carolina Panthers, the Cleveland Browns, the Commanders. So, am I open? Could I see actually Trey Lance being a quarterback in the NFL? Sure. Could I see him being a starter? Sure. Do I think he's a top 15 quarterback? Absolutely, positively not. Can he do some things that make him look like a top-level quarterback? I assume so. But he's probably not consistent enough. And this is what I've said a lot in the past about different levels of quarterbacking. You have two types of backup quarterbacks mostly, for the most part. You have some backup quarterbacks that just are limited in what they can do, but they're pretty consistent. But they can't carry you on the back. They can't, really take you to that next level. And they can't really say, I'm going to go out and win us this game. Let's go. Right? They don't have that Mahomes magic, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow. They don't have that, but they're consistent. So you can, you can win some games with them, but when the going gets tough, you can't just say, come on, John, you got to dig deep. They just don't have the ability. Then you have the other type of backup quarterback who can do that magic, who can have those moments where you're like, oh my God, he looks like Patrick Mahomes out there. What is he doing? But he can't do it consistently enough. So he can do it 2 out of 10 times, which is still pretty cool and pretty great and gives you that hope. And if you do like limp into the playoffs and your quarterback gets injured, you're like, hey, this guy can go on a run and win. Like, oh my God. Nick Foles comes to mind in that example. Fitzmagic and stuff like that. You're like, wow, but they can't consistently do it. If Patrick Mahomes can do the magical stuff 8 out of 10 times, these backup quarterbacks can do it like 2 out of 10 times, 3 out of 10 times. And it's very inconsistent and you can't rely on it. So you have no idea what you're going to get. And not only do you not know when they can do the magic, but that magic goes terribly wrong. It's like, 3 interceptions, a fumble, it's a disaster, and they can't do the basics consistently, right? That's also what then makes Patrick Mahomes so special. He can do the basics, the foundationals, consistently perfect, 9.999999 out of 10. So Trey Lance apparently doesn't have the consistency. He can maybe do some of that magic, but that actually makes it really difficult. When we talk about these quarterbacks who, we talk about how you either need an elite quarterback or a pretty good quarterback with a great roster. The truth is, though, you need a good quarterback who's consistent. It's why Purdy was able to have success so early. It's why Jimmy Garoppolo was able to have success. It's when you have this consistency, then if you have a great roster with a great OC and a defense that holds their own, yes, you can win a Super Bowl. But if you have the type of quarterback who's inconsistent, it's very difficult. Very, very difficult. You're constantly putting the defense on their back foot. You're stressing out the locker room, the players, the offense doesn't know what they're going to get. This reminds me, honestly, of what Carson Wentz did, and I think Carson Wentz was misaligned. But Carson Wentz, a lot of the players, especially with the Eagles, his first team that he was with, they got sick of it because he had magical moments, but then he also had moments where they're just like, just check the ball down. You're making it harder for everyone. And it was soured in the locker room. And then you have a Nick Foles who's a lot more consistent, who can then also periodically literally outduel Tom Brady in a Super Bowl. And a team, a team rather have that consistency in a lot of ways. Of course, you want to be able to have the magic of a Mahomes, but it's exhausting when you're playing with a player who you just don't know what you're going to get. And that's what appears Trey Lance has. Players within the 49ers, whispers in the very beginning, from the very beginning, we're like, ooh, we do not like what we see. This is not it. And the fact that the 49ers just gave him away for, a bag of peanuts and some Funyun rings, the 3rd round pick, I'm just not seeing where Trey Lance. So this whole idea of let's not forget about Trey Lance. The 49ers forgot about Trey Lance. The Cowboys have seemingly forgot about Trey Lance. I don't know why you think suddenly he's going to just, be this late bloomer. I mean, of course, I'll give the caveat, anything is possible. But if you're a Dallas Cowboys fan, I would not be holding out hope that Trey Lance is going to rescue you. I'm just not seeing it. again, from a person-to-person standpoint, I feel bad that that's the way how his career has unfolded. But the dude is still getting paid to not even play football, but just to like dress up like a football player. I'll take that job any day of the week, so I don't feel too bad. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. Do you think Trey Lance can actually be a legitimate bona fide starter in the NFL? And should the Cowboys, quote unquote, not forget about him? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get into some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. Thank you so much, and see you next time.